Spring is on the way, so now is a great time to get out in the garden and check in to see how things are doing and what's going to be taken care of when those days get longer.
We're also going to take you inside for a little houseplant tour.
It's hard to believe that spring is technically less than a month away, especially considering that our entire garden is still covered in snow and ice. But now is a really important time to get out there and see what's going on, because it's been really easy to stay inside and ignore the garden this entire winter. First thing we're gonna do is do a walk around looking for damage from the snowstorms, the ice, the heavy wind, and garden critters. And I've already seen some right over there.
Pretty significant too.
Next, we're gonna look for some of the things that we might have kind of forgotten to take care of last fall. And I also see one of those things right over there. So let's get into it. First things first, look at this teasing Georgia rose. And this is a great example of why we don't necessarily cut our roses way back in the fall, heading into winter. Look right here, Christopher. Look at this nice, beautiful branch. That is something we would remove because of winter dieback. If in the fall we had cut it back already, I feel like that would have left other branches further down susceptible to winter dieback. What do you think?
I agree. You definitely want to leave your roses up. I mean, if this was really flopping in the wind too much and not secured to the trellis, we probably would cut back some of it, but not all of it until spring pruning time.
But add it to our list this spring, pruning back climbing roses. Christopher, look on the ground. Do you see what I see?
Do I see what you see?
And do you also see all of the tracks?
This is incredible.
Have a lot of rabbits happening right now. Rabbits are just part of our garden, and look at the damage that they have caused. And I'm assuming this is rabbits based on the 45-degree angle chews on the base of our columnar Scotch pine. And the snow has been so tall that it's allowed them to get high.
Yeah,
now,
this is a lot.
It is a lot. Am I worried about it? No, because these Weigela are going to grow and cover the base of that columnar Scotch pine anyway, but it's good to know that this is happening. So next year we can think about how to prevent the rabbits getting access to the base of the tree. And maybe that's by adding chicken wire like we did around this hydrangea here, which now as I'm looking at it, I realize this is the light O'Day hydrangea. The weight of this heavy wet snow has kind of crushed the cage. I think it's probably fine underneath there, but it's a good thing to make a note. And remember, the next winter, we've got to have probably more support beams happening going up and down in the garden.
Absolutely. Can you mention, Eric, why we have little ghosts popping up out of the snow?
So underneath here are chicken wire cloches that I've wrapped frost guard around and we've placed over the wee bit innocent hydrangeas. And these are not a reblooming variety of hydrangeas. They are a big leaf variety that bloom only on old wood. Some of the new ones, which this is one of them, but not one of the newer ones that reblooms really strongly. So we wanted to take the time to protect them over the winter. Because even though it's hardy in our zone, those buds on especially like sunny, warm, late spring or late winter days, they're going to want to start to open and then it's going to freeze at night and kill those buds off. So this is an experiment. So we're assuming that by adding the frost guard over the cloches, it's going to help prevent that frost from killing those buds.
Sprinter boxwoods are beautiful and very quick growing versions are an improvement, I guess you would say, on a winter gem boxwood. Because they grow so upright and so quickly, it does make them susceptible to floppage. In this case, you can see right here, these guys have been pretty mushed. This is like ice on top of snow.
It is. It's
so
fun.
If we're crunching around, sorry about that, this will be perfectly fine. I actually had planned, now that these have been established for about 2 years, to do a pretty good hard prune on them come the Father's Day-ish. I think that's like the old wives' tale.
Yeah, between Mother's Day and Father's Day.
Right.
Once temperatures are consistently steady.
This right here, you can see it's pretty flopped. I'm not going to worry about it. If I was to go through right now and try to clean away the ice and snow, I'd probably do more damage than it's worth. So I definitely would recommend leaving them. In the springtime, we'll handle what needs to be handled, but they're going to be perfectly fine under there. Something I am noticing, Eric, that will need to be taken after is our Winecraft Black Smoke Bush. You can see it is very vertical and tall and beautiful, but this time last year when it was balmy and we didn't need coats on, believe it or not, we were pollarding, or I'm sorry, not pollarding, we pollarded the willow. We coppiced this smoke bush. We cut it to the ground, basically. And this is one season of growth, which is remarkable. I do think we're going to need to take it down again because 2 seasons of growth, it's going to be taller than the redbud tree.
But I think when we take it down this year, we're not going to coppice it. I want to cut it almost at the base of each one of those branches so that it branches out, so it's bushier.
So it's thicker than it was.
So
Okay.
less straight up and down, and maybe some more fireworks and branching at the bottom, because I love the texture and color of that smoke bush next to the Kinsley Ghost honeysuckle, which we can't see anything now except the vine itself.
Which looks amazing.
Sure does.
So good. I think there's certainly going to be some rose and clematis work to be done. All of these little branches, this is all clematis, and this is a type 3. Don't quote me on that. I'm 90% sure it's a type 3. So I'll be cutting this pretty low and cleaning out all this yucky stuff. Then I'll take away all of the dead foliage on the rose and clean up any of the branches that don't look so hot. I will say, for a 2-year bare root rose, this cane is almost an inch thick on this
Really
generous
nice. And
gardener
look,
rose.
see, we thought ahead for the generous gardener rose. We put the black chicken wire on the base, and that does protect it from rabbits.
That has been a game changer for these.
Bear with the lighting. Also, bear with the footsteps in the snow. We appreciate that. Looking over here, I see tons of rabbit footprints, and look what they're leading us to.
It's like a congregation
They
is
are
happening.
leading us to the base of the Tromnar spruce. And look, it's the same exact damage from the columnar Scotch pine. Isn't that interesting?
That is interesting. I won't lie. I was Googling needle cast. I was Googling a kind of canker that affects spruces. And now that we get out here, you can actually see that there are half-chewed needles.
It's very interesting. It's something we've never experienced before, was the rabbits going after the evergreens. But a good way to tell is not only the tracks and the poop, but also that 45-degree angle that they leave behind with their teeth. And look at here. Our oh so easy peasy roses have been decimated by the rabbits, but that is actually fine because they're really hardy and they're going to grow back really quickly. They'll handle the pruning by nature just fine. This was a great year to experiment with these pop-up planters from Gardener Supply.
Big time.
Underneath here are the Let's Dance Lovable hydrangeas. What these do for us is they are, again, much like the cloches up front, protecting these hydrangeas from those late winter freeze and thaws. You can see through the top, they can still get airflow, they can still get sunlight, they still get snow melting on them, but they're protected from the rabbits, they're protected from the really harsh winds, they're protected from deer getting in there, and it's going to protect them from that freeze thaw. Also, in our urn, we have those Cascade hydrangeas, Fairy Trail Green. They bloom super early in the season. They're being protected as well. I don't know how they're going to do under there. Again, this is an experiment. It's the first time we've ever covered our hydrangeas. So fingers crossed it works out as well as we're hoping. Come on back here, Christopher. Look at that lavender, untouched.
Untouched lavender poking through.
Look at these rabbit tracks coming through, coming through.
They go in a single file line half the time.
Yeah. Right here are Invincible mini mauvettes. They're actually not eating the mini mauvettes. That's interesting.
That
Look at our
is.
Korean icebreaker fir under there. I love that little guy.
That is so great.
So interesting. All right, let's keep going this way, Christopher. We're fine, we're fine. These are double take orange quince, and you can see they're already starting to swell.
Which is amazing.
Really early spring blooming quince. Doesn't really sucker as much as old-fashioned quince. It suckers a little bit, but not as much. But it blooms extensively and in a really unique corally orange color. Keep going. I see a lot of footprints here, which makes me think
Somewhere in here are
spireas.
candy corn spirea. They don't like the Big Bang spirea, but this right here should be 3 candy corn spirea.
Yeah, they love a candy corn, but not a Big Bang. That is interesting. I wonder what the flavor difference is on those.
Maybe it tastes, oh, I see a bunny. I just saw one run up the
Freaking
hill.
kidding me? All right, interesting. So this is all fine. Here are tough stuff hydrangeas uncovered.
Eric, what do you think about pruning that might happen here on the paperbark maple?
What do I think?
Yeah.
I mean, definitely we're going to prune out anything. That's another thing is we love to prune in the springtime or in the late winter, early spring. So we'll take you along for that journey. Anything that is going to be growing inward and that's little is going to get pruned. I like to limb up the trees when they're young because they respond to it the best. I mean, if those of you that remember last year when we really pruned back and limbed up our eastern redbud tree, I thought I was going to pass out from anxiety.
Yeah, he struggled.
But it turned out to be one of the best things we could have done. So I think we'll bring everybody along when we get out here and prune. This is one of my favorite groupings of birch that we have in the garden.
It is so good. But there's paperbark birch. What about paperbark maple here? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, eventually we're going to start limbing it up.
Do you think that might start this year?
I think it's going to start this year, probably. All of this will be taken off down here because we're going to want to start. We want it to be a tree that we can walk under.
Right.
And it's a little baby, but it's grown a ton since we first planted it.
We were moving our way back over towards the Gothic arch so that we could start on that side, but I have been derailed. You know I love myself a David Austin rose, and so do the bunnies.
Look at our poor Lady of Shalott.
There are 5 Lady of Shalott roses here that are very vigorous, and it's a good thing they're very vigorous because they have been munched.
For sure. What is going on with these rabbits this year? They're out of control.
They are rude, and our garden's basically going to be wrapped in chicken wire at some point soon.
Where are the foxes and hawks and owls when you need them?
We need to borrow some. This right here is actually our fountain, which is wrapped up. I love that it looks like a little mushroom. And I'm probably very backlit at the moment, but I was just going to point out how we're not using the terrace at all at the moment. It's got about a foot deep of snow with this nice crunchy ice on top. But we're seeing the beauty of the evergreen interest, the Monty blue spruce and the weeping white spruce, and this little grouping here of boxwoods. This grouping, actually, I think I had pruned this harder last year, so you can see it's holding up a bit better to the ice. And then under this area here is our hedge of tough stuff, top fun hydrangeas.
Let me get over here so I can fix our lighting.
There, is that a little better?
Probably.
There we go.
Maybe not.
But right here, there is actually a low tunnel with frost cloth over it, very thick frost cloth, so we can get that same effect of protecting. This is holding up better to the snow and ice than some of the other supports we have.
Yeah.
So those super hoops are doing it.
I'm surprised. I remember someone had warned us that it might collapse under the weight of the snow, and I'm happy that that did not happen.
Yes.
But I can
agree.
see that if we had placed the braces further apart, that very well could have happened.
Probably. And I'm noticing where there's chicken wire right there, that is the snowfire aronia. And they couldn't get to it this past season, and they grew beautifully, and the snow has raised up the level they can reach, so they've snipped off a few branches towards the
Darn
edges.
it. Jeez,
Wow.
rabbits.
All right, well, let us continue on in this direction here and look inward at the Japanese white pine, which thankfully they don't have a taste for, because I feel like if they went after this, there'd be some angry gardeners, and we'd be on the warpath.
I mean, there's really nothing you can do about it. You just have to know that these plants are going to rebound.
They really are going to rebound. I also can't wait for the prairie fire crabapple this year. Last year when it bloomed, it's not that we didn't know it was going to be a beautiful tree, but I feel like this was remarkably beautiful last year.
It is prettier than I could have imagined.
Just stunning, stunning color. They're not really going after the Eustacia Vi roses.
Shh, don't tell them about it.
I'll scare them off. But things are doing well, and it is very interesting. This is our first time not having a hydrangea hedge. And we had also been so looking forward to sharing all of our plans and starting to really brainstorm
I know you're trying to
more.
stifle your laughter, Christopher.
I'm
'Cause I
trying to
almost
stifle
fell.
my laughter. That there was a whole dance performance getting through that snowbank just
know.
now. But this right here, this whole new bed is going to be a lot of fun.
This is a tree I'm really looking forward to this spring. It's a Carolina Sweetheart Redbud. Christopher bought it for me for my birthday the year before last, and it was a little whip. And I remember it came folded in a box. And
Yep.
we unfolded it, it came bare root. Planted it the year before last, so that would have been 2023, as a little whip. And it grew quite a bit. And then last fall, I limbed it up because we want to have higher limb trees. And I think we're going to get a nice show this spring.
They're a really pretty tree to begin with.
I'm looking forward to that. This bed here got reworked a bit in the fall. I think we're still going to be reworked in the spring. Although most of our attention, as Christopher said, will be on this initial bed right behind us. But we'll be doing this throughout the entire growing season. And I think we're always tweaking the garden because gardens change with gardeners and a garden is never really done. So we'll keep tweaking this area until we're really happy with it. Look over here at the Woolerton Old Hall rose growing up on the trellis. It looks pretty good. I don't even know if there's much to do to it other than
right, a
prune
little bit
tiny
of cleanup,
yeah.
but as far as pruning goes, they took care of the bottom cane, and some of those big canes are in great shape.
Yeah, I'm really surprised. I mean, whew, we're lucky that they have so much to eat here. Coming over here, another one of the trees I'm really looking forward to is this purple beech tree. It's gonna be a nice columnar type shape. It's grown quite a bit in the last 2 years. Our Japanese maple, I anticipated this really getting eaten by the rabbits around the base, and I'm really fine with it. It's a wabi-sabi Japanese maple. It gets very horizontal, and the lowest branches lay on the ground, and the rabbits have been kind of nibbling on it all last year. So I really anticipated this winter it getting nibbled, and I'm okay with that because we did plant around the base of it. So mostly what I'm seeing so far this winter, oops, these blew away.
Oh,
I'm assuming these were the ones that were on the Just Dandies.
the Stay Classy.
Stay Classies. So I'm thinking the Stay Classies have been eaten.
They left Classy.
Okay. So mostly what we're facing in this garden challenge or garden check-in is critter damage to be expected. We could try rabbit deterrents. They haven't worked for us in the past, but if you know of one, let us know in the comments below. But as things start to push new growth and start to really green up this spring, we're going to have to be very diligent about deer spray and trying to get these rabbits away from the stuff that's growing fresh. Our rolled doll getting eaten. All right here looks good. This is the Let's Dance Can Do hydrangeas. These are the larger size pop-up plant protectors.
How do they look in there?
They look really protected. They look great. Norway spruce. Oh, I see a little bit of maybe a backup on a...
Oh, you know what? We did. You can see a bit of ice flow on the rocks over there.
Interesting. Yep, and I think that maybe our gutter backed up and dripped over the edge. All right, good to check in. This is why you got to get outside, guys. Get outside, check in on your garden, and see how things are doing so that when spring comes, you're not like, what's going on? But let's head inside and do a tour of the office and see those houseplants that we've been showing behind us in our previous videos. Welcome to our office / plant room. This is where we get our green fix all winter long. So come on in. Obviously in the center of the office, you can see our desk. Christopher and I take turns using it. He edits YouTube videos on here. I do a lot of our work on photo editing for Instagram or Canva or things like that at this desk. Behind it, we have staged our bookcases with all different varieties of plants. Christopher is way better at the plant names than I am. So he's going to switch off with me in a moment and go through the different plant varieties with you. But I wanted to talk about how I kind of designed the layout of these bookcases because I know some of our viewers have expressed interest in that.
And that's where he excels, is that part.
And part of it is just, again, just like designing the garden. When designing something like this, it's all about repetition and giving your eyes a place to rest. Now you'll notice that we have a small lamp here that repeats on the other side. Both of those lamps have had grow lights put in them, which is really fun because then it helps the plants around them get that light. We have another small light that repeats itself here. So we have symmetrical lighting all throughout. And you'll also notice the pattern of the greenery is exactly the same. Bear with me, Christopher. Stay with me. I'm gonna walk you through this.
Go for it.
We have a box with a plant, terracotta glass plant. It's echoed over here, box with a plant, terracotta glass. So there's that bouncing of rhythm all the way throughout, which I think really gives it that cohesive look. And then when you look up top, we've got all that beautiful greenery grouped in two, grouped in two, grouped in two. The other thing I wanted to point out, I'm sure Christopher would agree with me, is that we were super nervous about having plants inside for two main reasons: lights and cats. We have two cats, Frederick and Freya, and they love to nibble. So one of the ways we keep them away from the plants is we keep the plants away from them by putting them up on the bookcases. And then we were really worried about lighting. So we worked with Gardener Supply and we got these awesome grow lights. Are they technically called grow lights, or are they?
They are a clip-on grow light.
Oh, they are a grow light. And then once we were able to use those and we saw how successful they were, we felt way more confident adding a lot more plants, like this one over here.
And this one, actually, you can see Eric used a soil topper, which was just, some, I guess, aquatic glass rocks or whatever kind of rocks. And those keep the cats from digging and using the soil for other purposes.
Yeah, Freya, our female cat, is really into digging in the soil. So to deter her, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to put these rocks on top because they're not fun to dig in.
And then we also got that other plant stand.
With the light. One thing I want to show you before I pass it off to Christopher to actually go through the plants in detail with you is some of the artwork we have in here that I'm really excited about and I'm really proud of. The first piece that I want to share with you, and we have two of them, are these beautiful pressed flower prints from Flower Press Studio. And they take dried flowers from their garden or various gardens and they put them on to this they create gorgeous pieces of artwork out of them. And then they've photographed them and they sell them on their website. And I just saw them and immediately fell in love with them. So there's those two there. And then Christopher, if you turn around, one of the things I'm exceptionally proud to share.
Exceptionally proud of. Good job.
Is we are in the David Austin 26th USA edition Handbook of Roses 2025. Really excited about that. And so these are pictures from our garden of our David Austin roses. And we were so proud of that I decided to have that framed. And of course we have the David Austin Roses calendar complementing that. And then some nice botanical prints over here. But what I'm sure you really want to hear about are the actual plants in our office.
I have a cheat sheet because some of these names are long and the botanical names of a lot of these houseplants are way beyond my mouth vocabulary skills. The really fun plant back here, this is the jungle cat alocasia, which lived outside on the terrace. So this was one of the inspirations for us even starting a houseplant journey, was we wanted to save the things that we had outside to put them back out next winter. And they're doing okay. Some new leaves have grown. They're shedding a few of the old leaves, which is to be expected, but it's such an interesting plant with the kind of stripy stems and these big, interesting Jurassic Park leaves. I really wanted to save this one. And its new friend over here, this is called Colorful Lancelot Calathea. Are we going to be Calathea or Calathea people? I like Calathea. It's really fluffy. It's kind of velvety on the undersides and sort of this interesting maroony purple color. I like this one because it kind of tightens up at night and then loosens up during the day. Below that, in one of these really cool Leafjoy H2O pots where all the roots are exposed, that one is called, bear with me. This one I believe is Chroma Abdijan rubber plant. I know it's rubber plant, but I think it's called Chroma Abdijan. Really dark green, glossy leaves, little kind of olivey color on the underside. But this combination of the three different pot styles. I really like that one. I think that looks pretty cool. This over here is something I've been looking for forever, and I haven't repotted it yet. This is called a Living Lace Hurricane. It's a fern, but it comes out in these kind of cool swirls. So I'm looking forward to getting that potted, I think, into this terracotta. Maybe we'll do that next weekend. We'll have a little houseplant journey. But Eric, back up a little bit for me. This is one of our newest fun friends. This one is called Schismaglottis. I think it's Schismaglottis. Art Deco Rivera drop tongue plant. The leaves are really thin and kind of papery feeling to me. But the kind of Art Deco, I guess that's a good name for it. It's a really cool plant. I have something like this at work, and when it is not fully watered, it falls apart and it looks like an elastic band just hanging over the side. And a couple hours after watering, it pops right back up. So I'm excited to see how this keeps filling in. And I have another one of these clip-on plant lights popped in here.
Those have really been a game changer for us when it comes to houseplants.
Big time. And if you see, Eric, up underneath, can you see where it's connected? It actually clips to the pot, which is very convenient. And then it has just a little timer that's on the power outlet.
And it's telescoping, so it goes as tall or as short as you want it to go.
There it is. This plant here, another new one I'm excited to pot up. This one's called Prismacolor Emerald Rip Curl. It's a philodendron, but it's a hairy philodendron. Look at the stems. They're so funny.
That is so weird.
I know. I saw one of these and it was much bigger, but I kind of like this one because the leaves covered up some of the hairy philodendron part. And this one, this is another one of the Leaf Joy globes. Let me pick this up for you.
I think they call them H2O bowls.
H2O bowl, okay. But this was a cutting of a Birkin philodendron, and the roots are sticking out. It's actually rooting itself in there. So it was a propagation bowl for us, but we're just gonna let it do its thing. Obviously, it has enough room to keep growing in there. So that's this little trio of plants. If you continue backing up, Eric, this is a cool little terrarium. What was the name of these? Do you remember? They're like the H2O bowls. You don't have to open them up for months at a time.
Yeah, the only time you're supposed to open them up is when you see a lot of condensation in them, and then you would just kind of pop the top like this for a bit. And this is also something you wouldn't want to put in direct sunlight for the entire day.
Right. And then let's do a quick switcheroo. Here we have Chandelier Happiness Banyan Tree. I believe it's a kind of ficus, but originally I was trying to talk Eric into letting me cut this so it would branch more, and he said, no, let's let it get tall. And I'm kind of glad that we went that direction because it's just this nice little skinny, happy tree with the really pretty leaves on it. I think this one, everything else is pretty good, but this is a little bit dusty.
This is another one that was on our back terrace all summer last summer.
Yeah, and I'm really impressed. It still has put on another 3 leaves since it came inside. So the grow lights are grow lighting. I'm very happy about that. Should I start on top and work my way down?
Yeah, let's start way up top and work our way down.
Up on top, we have a very beautiful variegated Ficus benjamina called Anastasia. The leaves stay on better. If you see one called Klingon, the series called Klingon, grab it because the leaves don't fall off as much. And they're really pretty and variegated. This here is a Living Lace Davana blue stem fern. It's probably my favorite houseplant of all time. I love the ruffly leaves. And this is what the new growth looks like. Just a random stem. But this one, I really, really love that. This down here,
I really like this one. This one I think has such a cool texture, and it's grown so much since we added it to the bookshelf.
Yeah, it's doing very well. This is one that I don't think I have the exact name for. Oh no.
Well, if you know, please leave it in the comments.
Yes. Oh, it's Cebu Blue something.
Oh.
Like CEBU Blue something.
They've got to complete the name
Yes.
for bonus points.
For bonus points. This is one of those kinds of ferns that we see at the garden center
like
all the
a button
time.
fern? Is that what it's called?
I think it is a
don't know.
button fern.
We're outdoor gardeners. We just do this to get us through the winter and wanted to share it with you.
And I think that this is one of those plants that you purchase and it's beautiful and then it won't be beautiful for long, and that's okay. This is another rubber plant. This one has the name chroma, which I think the leaves are really cool. Obviously, this would get really big in time, but it seems to be maintaining its size in this little spot. Love that. This right here is an Endless Cascades Sea Stones wax vine, or Hoya. It's been growing very nicely. I have this in a container, so it's in a little Proof of Winters pot so that I can take it out to water it and get the drainage that is required. But then one day I discovered that this had filled up with a little bit of water, so once I cleared that situation up, it started growing beautifully again. This is another one of the Leaf Joy H2O bowls. This is a beautiful Summer Nights.
It's had a lot of growth since it's been in here.
And what I've discovered with these H2O bowls is often you can take the cork part off, and there's probably 2 or 3 plants in here. I have successfully divided a few of these, and then you leave one behind and it has more room to grow and all of that. But I love these leaves. These pothos are really cool. This is a night owl mangave that we had outside also, and it's hanging on. I'm sure that it would love to be in a really hot, arid summer sun, but it's only got a couple more months to go.
Yeah, and we had talked to Walter's Gardens about how to overwinter the mangaves because they're not hardy in our zone,
Right.
and they said just keep them dry during the winter. They're going to lose their color intensity. They're gonna struggle over the winter in the house, but they'll appreciate the warmth.
That's all we can give it right now, and very little water. I think I've watered them once since they've been inside. And then popping back up here, this is another one of these pothos numbers. This is called Snowy Morning. It's a little more variegated, and you can see it's already starting to trail like its friend over here, which is trailing. But I'm excited to get this whole area covered in the variegated pothos. I think that's gonna look so good. These are seeds actually from our dahlias and our zinnias. So I'm gonna have to borrow some of these soon to plant them, probably at the end of March. This is a staghorn fern that is it's just hanging out. It hasn't done a ton of growing, but it's happy, and I love the texture of these. So don't change it if it's not broke, you know? I like it. I don't think we need to do anything with that.
And people are going to think we skipped this one, but we didn't because it's fake.
This is fake, yeah. Not enough sun for succulents in here. Another Devana.
We just use a grow light.
We could do that, actually. Another Devana fern, because I can't get enough of them. And then one of the houseplants that we originally got and I wasn't so sure I loved is this Amstel King ficus, which ended up being probably one of my favorites. I had to cut it back quite a bit because it was touching the ceiling. It grew so much even since we brought it inside. So this is very happy. It's going to be hard to bring this back outside because we'll miss it in here. There's also a place in our dining room that I think it might end up needing a permanent place.
Although, you know what I'm thinking? Why do we need to bring these back outside? Can't we just get more?
We should probably just get more. This is another one of those pothos. I think this is Summer Nights the same way as the other one, but it is kind of showing some of the variegation. And also, it's happy. This thing is growing. I really like it. This I'm not exactly sure the name of, but I love it. It's another H2O bowl. This is a peperomia with really cool variegation. I think it looks like a watermelon. What do you think, Eric?
That is one of my favorite houseplants in here. I love a blue tone. Everybody knows I love a blue evergreen. I love a blue houseplant. I love a blue grass. I'm into the blue tones.
Love it. Here we have a little begonia number. Another rubber plant back here.
That one is struggling, but it looks like it's trying to put on some growth. That's from Trader Joe's. I got that.
Yeah, that's one of the hot sources these days of the houseplants. This is a Feeling Flirty Tradescantia. It's not being as flirty as it could be. I don't think
it's feeling flirty. I think it's feeling
unwell.
Unhappy.
Yes, as is this rubber tree, which it's, oh wait.
That was just a casing.
It was just a casing. It is trying to put a leaf out. Good for us. And this is another of the night owl mangave. You can see it's really turned green when it's normally a really intense purple color. And then just one more little Tradescantia there to round off our not groomed house plants. But this whole wall has been such a journey. I think we're doing a pretty good job for our first time with indoor plants.
Yeah, I mean, once a week they get watered, right? And then I think you take the bigger ones and put them in the shower once a month.
They all get
really
a bath.
Soak them and clean them. But It's been really fun kind of giving you an inside look inside the office and showing the houseplants to you. And
I love it.
now as you're watching our videos, you can picture Christopher just sitting here at the desk editing them.
Right here.
And me just sitting in that chair having a snack and bossing him around. Thank you so much for joining us today as we check in on that winter garden to prepare for spring and give you a nice little inside tour of the office and our houseplants. Again, I'm Eric.
And I'm Christopher.
And we're Grow From Me Gardening.
Thanks for growing with us.